Welcome back to the National Post Politics Bureau, where, Chris, it's a big day. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau just announced that he intends to resign. He's going to stay on as Prime Minister until the Liberals find a new leader and Prime Minister. The House is now prorogued, which means it's entirely on pause until March 24th. We expect a new Liberal leader will be in place by then, but Chris, we don't actually know if that's the case.
No.
But first of all, the Prime Minister has shut down the House for 2.5 months. What does that mean?
Well, the House is prorogued. It's essentially a reset. You kind of imagine a metaphorical table and you just take everything, you swipe it off and you throw it down. That's what just happened to the House. So technically it was supposed to come back at the very end of January. By proroguing, the Prime Minister Trudeau, because he's still technically Prime Minister, has ensured that there won't be any votes, any parliamentary sitting, any committees or anything until March 24th. So effectively he's kind of annulled any possibility for more confidence votes, at least three of which he'd survived already in the fall session. And he's also wiped a bunch of bills that were kind of sitting there off. For example, the somewhat controversial online harms bill is now off the table. He won't be able to table any budget bills. Who knows? But as of now, one can assume that the $250 checks that they'd promised in the fall can't really happen because
I forgot about that.
That was meant to be legislated. So for those waiting for $250, bummer. But essentially, he is kind of guaranteed that his government survives until late March when they come back. But then what's interesting about prorogation is that it comes back with what's called a throne speech, where the government and either him as Prime Minister or if they found a new Prime Minister, because we don't know yet, will hand the Governor General a speech, which is called a throne speech, which will flesh out their new priorities. And then immediately after the throne speech is a confidence vote. If party leaders stick to their word, opposition party leaders stick to their word, that means that there will immediately be a confidence vote. Yeah. They will, as of now, vote against it, all three of them, and Canada will go into an election, presumably sometime end of March, if not early April, depending on when that confidence vote happens.
Yeah, and crucially, Jagmeet Singh, NDP leader, said today he would vote against that throne speech. So he was the key vote. We knew the other parties were going to vote against it.
Absolutely.
We are going to now go into a Liberal leadership race. The trouble is we don't know what the rules will be or how that will work. We're supposed to have a 4-month Liberal leadership race. Clearly they can't do that now. We assume they're going to want somebody in place by the time Parliament comes back. So what's the plan? How is this going to work?
Well, that's unfortunately one of the many questions that we still haven't gotten an answer to, and I truly don't think that the Liberal, even caucus members, have one. They're meant to have meetings Monday of this week, possibly on Wednesday of this week as well, where the rules will probably be fleshed out. Possibly they'll even have something to say. They'll have an opportunity to provide input to their own party to define those rules. But there's a lot of things that are in flux. Who will be allowed to vote in an eventual leadership race? Who will be allowed to join as a member? Who knows? They could, as of now, the rules for Liberal membership are extraordinarily lax. It's free to join. You don't need to be a citizen. You can almost, there are very, very loose rules, something that has actually raised some pretty serious concerns of foreign interference in the past and at the Foreign Interference Inquiry recently.
Even just special interest groups, people who have believed strongly in something could hijack it, right?
Can mobilize massively and very much turn the tide. So I'm curious to see if the party will keep those rules in place. Will they bring back a low-cost membership? The Conservatives, I believe, is $5, if I'm not mistaken. But just having sometimes a low barrier to entry, but a barrier to entry changes the dynamic and doesn't make it as easy for leadership race to be co-opted. But the length of it will also be important. As you said, it feels unlikely that a party, knowing that March 26th, Parliament's going to come back and face a confidence vote very shortly after, will want to go into that without an established leader for the campaign. It's certainly not going to be Justin Trudeau. He said so himself on Monday. So a lot of questions. It's going to be very important how these rules are defined, and those also define who will then want to jump into the fray. If you create a race that's too short, or very short rather, with high barrier to entry, let's say financial donations, then you really prioritize or privilege front runners or people who have been organizing for a while. If you create a slightly longer one with a lower financial barrier to entry, you will likely create a much wider field of candidates. These are all really important questions that we'll probably find out ideally over the next week.
Yeah, fingers crossed, right? Yeah. We'll be looking for those answers. So thank you for watching. Chris, thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Happy early January.